Hi, this is Byron McFarland with the McFarland Group. And I wanted to share with you today a little background on what it is that our organization does to help business owners create a bankable exit. And that we first work for the company in that we are seeking to come up with an outcome that would be beneficial to the seller, the buyer, and most importantly, provide sustainability for the company. And how do we do that? Well, we first interview the owner and the buyer to understand what their unique goals are around this transition. And then we evaluate what resources are necessary for the owner to walk away from the business and become financially independent. And then what resources are available then to the buyer in order for them to be able to finance operations and service installment debt to either the seller or preferably to a bank for the acquisition of the company. Once we understand what those resources are and what is needed, then we move to what risks need to be mitigated, which would be insured or managed, which would mean provided for an agreement that if they occurred prior to the transition, that they would adversely affect the value of the business and potentially make the transition undoable for either the buyer or the seller. So once we got those risks figured out, then we're looking at what minefields exist in that interpersonal conflict that is just below the surface in most businesses usually presents itself at some point in the transition because there's a change in the dynamic in the organization. We search out those interpersonal conflicts and try to come up with ways to resolve them before the problem is too big for anybody to solve, and that it usually could end with somebody leaving and the business value going down. So people ask, so what do you do? We're business owner succession planners, and that we provide for the orderly disposition of both ownership and management. And then the most common question is, well, can I just do that with my attorney or my accountant or my banker? Yes, you could, if they are interested in providing that service. What we find is that most of the professionals that we work with, and we do collaborate with business professionals all the time, such as attorneys, accountants, and bankers, they prefer to have somebody else organize the process and then manage the actual steps in the process and involve their particular discipline at the right time and bring them in to help solve problems that would be in the area of subject matter expertise. So if you'd like to know more about the McFarland Group and our bankable exit process, go to mcfarlandgrp.com.